morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar Beyond Scrum. We genuinely appreciate your valuable time and your interest in our webinar. So thank you so much for joining us. I can see that around 10 plus participants have joined yet. We are expected to join few more participants, but let's start now due to some time limitation. So let me quickly introduce myself and my company. I am Harshat from Knowlathon IT Services. Knowlathon is one of the premium training and certification providing organization in India. Headquarters in Pune and established in 2012. Knowlathon is only platinum partner in this region. We are aggregated partners of PMI, ISACA, Exim, TUV and others. So that's bit about Knowlathon. In this webinar, you will learn about Scrum certification, and I'm sure you will get more clarity about the Scrum certification. So are you guys really excited today? Yes. Thank you. So before we dive in, let me introduce to our today's esteemed speaker, Mr. Vishal Kulkarni. Mr. Vishal is a certified Agile coach and endorsed SPC 5.0 with over 19 years of experience in the IT industry. He has spent more than 8 years in the Agile coaching and consulting roles across the banking, ERP, and IT service management. With 16 plus year of experience in product-based organization, Mr. Vishal has collaborated with high-performing teams in various roles, including software testing, software project release management, and project and product management. So that's bit about Mr. Vishal. So we understand that your time is valuable and we truly appreciate you being here today. So if you have any questions, feel free to use our chat feature and we will address those at the end of the session. Now, without any further ado, I would like to hand it over to Mr. Vishal to kick off today's session. Welcome, Mr. Vishal, sir.
Thank you very much, Harshit. And good morning, good evening, everyone. Uh, Thanks for brief introduction, Harshit. Really appreciate that. Moving on with with this particular webinar, wherein we are going to talk about Scrum and beyond, right? Subsequently, it is one of the most widely used kind of a framework when it comes to agile ways of doing the software development. Subsequently, our agenda looks like in terms of what is beyond Scrum, right? Is that a case that Scrum is addressing all the complex issues, especially around the product development, and probably what are the next arenas which we are looking at, especially organizations they're adopting or they continuing the journey uh, on the agile ways of working, or probably the organizational change management, right, which is a key component right nowadays, which is considered to be every organization staying focused on improvising every now and then, right? So I will be exploring some of the details around what Scrum framework is all about. Where do we started with this particular journey, and what's the future it looks like, right? Predominantly during our discussion for next 40-45 minutes, I'm going to really talk about my experience with different organizations wherein I have worked with those organizations in different capabilities, but subsequently I also help them to adopt agility to greater extent, right? Uh, that's what we are going to talk about. Subsequently, this is overall agenda what we are looking at in terms of today's next 45 minutes discussion. I'm quickly going to give you a quick idea about what Agile is all about. Subsequently, Scrum, which is one of the widely used kind of a framework, where it started, what are the recommendations of this particular framework. Subsequently, industry have been adopting this framework for last so many years. There are certain limitations through which people are overcoming. They are trying to find out the new ways in terms of wherein they can scale the the Scrum adoption to a greater extent, which we call it as a enterprise agility. And subsequently, I'll quickly introduce the new framework, or probably it's a old framework, but substantially the adoption of this particular framework has gone substantially on a higher side. That is scaled agile framework, and what are the learning areas out of that? Typically, if you look at the way we understand agility, it was introduced to the world by 17 people way back in 2001, February 11th and February 11th to February 13th. And subsequently, those 17 team members who were experiencing the different ways of doing the software development, uh, they gathered together in Utah states in United States of America, wherein they started talking about the their own ways of dealing with the software requirements from their respective customers, and wherein they are completely deviating from those recommended ways of doing the software development. Subsequently, 2001 is the arena wherein these people thought that we should introduce this uh, philosophy or the new ways of working to the entire world, and that is where agile was introduced to the entire world, wherein these people introduced it as not a methodology, but it's a philosophy, a cultural aspect of it. And subsequently, based on the four values and 12 principles. Now, if you look at those 12 principles, they are pretty much close to the 14 quality management principles, which are articulated by Sir Edward Demons in his one of publication, which he made it available for public way back in 1980s, right? Uh, idea was to make people understand the new ways of working, and not uh, just giving them a kind of a knowledge or probably a gyan, but it is a actual working experience which people were pretty much which the 17 people were pretty much make the new generation understand and possibly enjoy the benefits, right, which they were able to achieve by deviating from traditional way of doing the software development. But does that really mean that agile is the only way, right? And answer to that question is no. There are certain there are certain situations, there are certain projects which definitely are more far suitable and can be executed in a appropriate manner, even if you follow the traditional way of doing the software development, and probably we're introducing agility over there, right? Substantially, that would demonstrate some of the challenges. Uh, this philosophy, this culture, uh, they were of the opinion that this can be adopted with several frameworks under this particular a broader term agility, right? Uh, subsequently, we could see the Scrum, the Kanban, feature-driven development, dynamic system development methodology. In recent past, we could see, especially after 2010, right, we could see a birth of scaled agile framework, which is pretty much staying focused on adoption of new ways of working from the enterprise agility aspect of it. And subsequently, organizations, they are adopting the scaled agile framework, and they are contributing towards the betterment of this particular framework, right, which actually connects the strategy to the execution. But you know what remains with the entire industry, right? They're dealing with the fundamentals of the team compositions, the specialized roles which are needed when it comes to the adoption of new ways of working. And subsequently, you know there are certain areas, right? There are certain recommendations what Scrum facilitates, right? If you look at the overall history of Scrum, it is a pre-manifesto, pre-agile manifesto uh, kind of framework. It was Ken Schuber, Jeff Sutherland, with the help of Ken Bake, right? They were working on certain set of traditional ways, deviating from traditional ways of doing the software development, and it was introduced to the world somewhere around 1993 as one of the different ways of doing the software development, and it was known as Scrum. But the overall journey started way back in 1986, right? Wherein thus new ways of working with the help of uh, having a team-based approach, or probably uh, having more or bringing more scalability to support the business. In 1986, Taikuchi and Nonaka, right? These were the two individuals who introduced this terminology called as the new product development game, which was completely reflecting on the rugby fundamentals of it. And subsequently, this new ways of working, the scalable solution, which reflects on the team composition. It was adopted by organizations like Honda or Canon, the the Fiji, Xerox. These are the organizations who really adopted it, and subsequently they could see a lot of benefits out of that. But over the period of time in 1983s, with Jeff Sutherland, Mr. Jeff McKenna, these were the three individuals who came together and they formed their first Scrum team with Hissel Corporation, right? Wherein they completely borrowed those ideas from 1986, the from Takechi and Nonaka, right? And subsequently the that was a start in terms of wherein the Scrum was introduced to the world. Subsequently, Scrum development process, which was presented to the entire public way back in 1995 by Ken Schuber at the Object Oriented Programming Systems and Languages and Application Conference in 1995 uh, in Austin, Texas. And at the same time, that was a time wherein even Kane Beck, who is considered to be the inventor of extreme programming as one of the framework, right? Uh, with the input from Mr. Jeff Sutherland and Ken Schuber, the XP was introduced to the world as well way back in 1998 with a formal publication, Extreme Programming by Ken Beck. But subsequently, uh, this extreme programming was developed, right, with the wherein it can complement the Scrum framework itself. And here is in 2001, wherein this 17 people from different organizations who were completely doing the different ways of doing the software development, which is deviating from traditional ways of doing the software development, right? They subsequently gathered together, and that was a placeholder wherein in those 3 days, the new mechanism of doing the software development was introduced to the world as agile, right? Substantially, if you could see, that was not the stop in terms of the Scrum as a framework. Uh, yes, 2010, Mr. Ken Schuber, Jeff Sutherland, they were the individuals who actually took Scrum to the next level. Uh, Definitely, the Scrum Guide is considered to be one of the Bible, one of the reference book in terms of you understanding what Scrum framework is all about. It is available on the scrum.org, which was introduced to which was formed by Jeff Ken Schuber, and he is the he's the person who actually set up scrum.org, wherein which is offering different set of certifications, be it could be Scrum Master, be it could be your product owner, or Agile leadership, so on and so forth. Substantially, they are increasing their overall knowledge base in terms of the different dimensions, be it could be the service management, but it could be your product development, or maybe Agile leadership. So these are the different dimensions what they are exploring more. This particular scrum.org was introduced or was launched way back in 2009 by Ken Schuber. And subsequently, if you want to download the latest Scrum guide, it is available free of cost on scrum.org. So make a complete use of this particular site to download the most, most fantastic reading material on Scrum, right? Which if you read it daily, it is one of the smallest book what I have seen in my experience. Hardly 14, 15 pages of document, but gives you a complete entirety on what Scrum is all about. Definitely, it has been updated, it has been refined over the period of time. 2010, whereas it was introduced. Subsequently, it went under the revision in 2017, and subsequently, the latest release of Scrum guide, which was made available in 2020. Now, if you look at the construct of Scrum, right, it is the way Scrum has been defined, the way Scrum was introduced to the world is one of the simplest and unique framework to adopt agile philosophy, agile culture, or agile ways of working. But if you look at it, it has got a very specific set of information, right? It just talks about three roles: your Scrum Master, your Product Owner, and your development team. When I talk about a development team, it is all about the different roles of from your organization who are coming together and who are showing their you know uh, accountability, responsibility in terms of converting those set of requirements into the solution. Subsequently, supported with two additional roles: product owner and a scrum master. These are the three roles what it introduced. Subsequently, it talks about only four events, and the way our day is been spent. Typically, lots of meeting throughout the day. Scrum guide, it says that we get involved into a lot of discussions, and probably it is not necessary that we should be involved in every part of discussion. What is more important is like we're staying focused on generating the value. We're staying focused on the next level of requirements. We should be staying focused in terms of developing in the next generation solution, which could take or probably allow our organization to develop the next uh, futuristic solutions for our customers. Typically, that's the reason wherein Scrum prescribed the four events. That is a sprint planning meeting, daily stand-up or daily Scrum meetings, your sprint reviews and sprint retrospectives, right? And subsequently, it talked about the three artifacts, which is your product backlog, your sprint backlog, and your potentially shippable product increment. It substantially, did not introduce any processes as part of this particular framework. Typically, it says that whatever works really well for you, right? You should go ahead and adopt your set of practices. Your Scrum Master will act as a servant leader here in terms of, he'll be making teams more you know uh, thought leaders in terms of they deciding on the new ways of working, or predominantly the processes, the tools what they want to use to adapt the new ways of working, right, which really enables them to deliver as early as possible with the right set of quality as well as with right set of security as well. uh, it did not uh, provided any recommendations. So in that recommendations from the processes side of it, and that is the reason it Scrum is described as very simple to understand, but it is very difficult to master it, because within one organization you may have different Scrum teams, but substantially not everybody is following the same processes. Or in my experience, I've seen that the tools also changes team by team, depending on the kind of solutions what they are developing, as well as if organization has appetite in terms of affording multiple tools to do the requirement management, test management, or possibly the overall project management related set of activities. The overall retrospectives, the sprint reviews, it is completely based on the iterative and incremental ways of doing the software development, which is typically reflects on we're delivering the highest priority set of features to our customers at regular intervals, right? And typically, if you look at those four values, which are part of the manifesto for agile software development, typically it reflects on we interacting with each other, even if we are remote in nature, especially post pandemic. We have learned how do we operate remotely and still we work as a team. But what if we are co-located, right? We could have our own workspace wherein the different roles, they are coming out of their silos, they are trying to show their commitment in terms of the amount of work which needs to be executed, and anything which is a priority for our customers, right? That needs to be uh, taken into consideration first. And it is not about we subsequently doing the deliveries with regards to the iterative and incremental ways of doing the software development. Substantially, we evaluating the progress of our project based on the number of working softwares, what we have delivered, right? We are more working in a collaborative manner, not only within the organization with the different roles, but external to with the people who are external to the organization. But it could be your sponsors, your customers, or maybe your representatives of your customer. And this particular agility, this particular frameworks, they're completely staying focused on we showing the flexibility in our planning, wherein at any point in time throughout our project, if customers are allowing us or customers are requesting for any of those changes, then subsequently we should be able to adopt those changes into our software development. And that is the reason, right? If it is completely all about the the collaboration. We are consistent in our deliveries. It is all about interaction. It is all about we're responding to a change. It is all about we following the feedback mechanism, which brings in the benefit not only to the customers, but it brings in the benefits to the organization as well, right? And typically, if you have the right understanding, especially on the agile values, there are four values as part of manifesto. If you have a good understanding in terms of those 12 principles, then definitely your teams, they should not only understand, they should not have knowledge about it, they should really understand it, and understanding can be developed over the period of time as people get into more practice aspect of it. And that is a beautiful thing, right? Which agile always refers to, right? And subsequently, this adoption of new ways of working, it is typically getting reflected as part of as part of your journey, wherein we are trying to understand the current state where our organization, where our team stands as on date today, and probably what is the future state your organizations want to achieve it. And that's the overall transformation which every organization is trying to uh, currently, they are making part of their process as part of their organizational change management. And there are different frameworks which they are adopting, but it could be a Scrum, but it could be your extreme programming. In certain areas we are seeing the adaptation of your Kanban as a framework as well. But superficially, right, when you talk about this transformational set of activities, yes, you know uh, the team showing their commitment, they are having the knowledge further they're developing their understanding about these frameworks, uh, will that really enable the entire organization to be called out as agile organization? And to an extent, right, there are certain limitations what we have seen, especially the Scrum as a framework. And typically, over the period of time, uh, Mr. Ken Schubert, Jeff Sutherland, they realized this particular fact, and they introduced the next level of framework, which they call it as Nexus, which is uh, the body of knowledge, or probably a Nexus guide, which is again yet again a new scaled framework, or scaling Scrum, what we call it, right? That has been made available with which includes which is completely a next level of your Scrum framework, wherein they have introduced a couple of new roles and a couple of ceremonies, which allows the teams to integrate their work substantially over the period of time. But what about the organizations who have got uh, different set of projects from their clients, which are considered to be the large scale projects, or wherein they need probably more than 100 people or beyond that. uh, does that really sounds like idea wherein Scrum can take into consideration? Yes, Scrum gives you that uh, flexibility or probably the recommendations in terms of how your teams should stay structured, but when it comes to the delivery mechanism, right, it has got its own limitations. And if you look at, if you search on Google, right, there are different limitations what people have articulated based on their own learnings, right, across their observations what they had with their consulting and coaching assignments with different organization. But based on my understanding, right, and they are interlinked, right, these are the certain set of limitations what I have seen substantially over the period of time. And I think that is where I could see there are kind of you know uh, setbacks, or probably I would call it as the progress of overall transformation. It takes a little a step back, right, wherein you understand that one of the most important limitation what it refers on the Scrum aspect of it is like it is not effective for the larger teams, right? Scrum has its own recommendation in terms of the Scrum teams, which should not be more than 10 people. But not necessary that your every project is going to probably need 10 or less than 10 people. You may have some of the large implementations where you need more than 100 200 300 500 odd people. uh, how are you going to manage those teams, right? Maybe we're setting up those teams as per the Scrum guide, which certainly allows us to have that uh, unique setup which can be made available. But substantially, what is more important is like those team will stay focused in terms of executing their own work, right? Their planning will limit it to their own planning, and subsequently, what it reflects is, uh, you know, the expectation is that all those teams on a larger project, large scale projects, they will work together, but everybody has got their own focus area, everybody has got their own planning, everybody has got their own deliverables, and substantially they will be creating their own plans. And there would be a situation, right, they may have their own Scrum probably sprint iteration lengths, maybe their duration, their start date and end times could be different, and that possibly brings in the challenge in terms of all these teams, they are working for one single customer for one single project, but they are part of the different teams, Scrum teams, and probably they are addressing the interdependencies on each other, right? Probably that is going to be a challenge wherein the overall delivery mechanism uh, seems going in a little slower manner. And then we always have a placeholder wherein we say that okay, agile is not cup of our tea, it does not work for well for our organization, it does not work well for probably the products and services what we are offering to our customers. And it's not the fault, right? It's not the fault of your fault of the agile or the scrum framework. It is all about the anti patterns what we have adopted, because we don't understand the overall recommendations what it offers. And typically, when we have this kind of different understanding which is been made available across the different teams with the same project in the same organization, typically we get into the anti patterns. And certainly that does not allow us to have a cadence based synchronization delivery mechanism, right, wherein all these 10, 15 teams, scrum teams, they can work together, and probably they have the same start date and end date, wherein they can reflect more on addressing the interdependencies and possibly act as a enabler, right, for other scrum teams, wherein they address those interdependencies and possibly allows the teams to have that particular flow of work in a continuation manner, which will bring in the benefits or allow our customers to have the higher returns on investment substantially over the period of time. And when we have this kind of limitations, right, wherein we lose on the cadence, we probably may not have a synchronization. When I talk about a cadence, it is all about a rhythm, the duration of a sprint, right? And when we have that kind of a disparity within the organization for the same project, we probably may get reflected into the limitations where the team struggles to get involved into the decision making. And probably that is where, right, the organizations, they always come back and they say that, okay, agile does not work for us. It is not agile who is not working well for them. It is all about the way they have understood, the way they have understood it, and further the way they have adopted it. What is more important, right? Can we go beyond Scrum? And the answer to that question is yes, right? Like I said, when we talked about the evolution of the Scrum framework, right? In 1993, 1995, wherein the Scrum was introduced, adopted, and 1995, wherein the Scrum was introduced by Jeff Sutherland, right, to the entire world. Ken Beck was also working on some of the different ways of doing the software development. And Ken Beck is an innovator of extreme programming framework. Now, there are 12 extreme programming technical practices what he introduced to the world, which includes your test-driven development, your self-organizing, or the cross-functional teams, right? Maybe a system metaphor, or probably the refactoring aspect of it. These are the different technical practices, 12 technical practices what he introduced to the world. And if you look at, right, even any organization, any team who is following the Scrum as a framework, they can still have the flexibility in terms of utilizing those 12 technical practices from the extreme programming, and probably adapt that as part of their processes. But when it comes to the larger teams, right, does that still works? And answer to that question is yes. But typically, what we are looking at is like we achieving the enterprise agility, right? Wherein we are slightly moving with those Scrum fundamentals existing at the foundation level, extreme programming fundamentals at the foundation level. There is a need in terms of we scaling the Scrum, wherein the entire organization demonstrate their ability to adapt agility, which really enables them to to deal with the changing business conditions in a timely, providing the cost effective solutions, and predominantly reflecting on enabling their business in terms of making the right set of solutions to be made available to their end customers, right? Understanding their futuristic need, and subsequently, reflect on those, the new ways of working, and subsequently enabling the business to achieve or capture the, maximum market share with their futuristic view of developing the next generation set of solutions. And typically, there could be an existence in terms of, we're looking at the agile processes. We could be looking at the different business agile business models. We may have agile services applicable to the agile services, agile products, We may have different agile operating models, and definitely it is all about the return on investments, right? Somebody is investing in you, definitely they're expecting the higher returns on top of it. And definitely there is a trade-off, right? We try to achieve something, and possibly we adapt something. So to adapt something, there is a need in terms of you having the additional funding arrangements, and that is where your agile commerce which exists. And even some of the organizations, they may not develop the entire set of solutions by their own. Typically they may need the support from their vendors, from their suppliers over the period of time. And typically even their suppliers, their vendor solutions needs to be part of, they should be demonstrating the agility. So the contracts with those vendors also can be articulated in the agile way, or in the agile format. Definitely, it brings in your enterprise agility, brings in the benefit in terms of the adaptability, right? But it could be uh, the expectations of the market in future, the technology adaptation, the needs of the customer, from the futuristic side of it. You bring in the more empowered employees, or these people, they create their own plans. uh, they execute those plans with they taking the accountability and responsibility of it. They are focused, and typically they act really quickly, right? Instinctively, right? It's all about the learning culture, and it is all about, we are learning from our failures, right? And subsequently that brings in the benefit to the organization, to the employees, right? Definitely this learning culture is cultivated with the help of we getting the consistent and constant feedback from the different stakeholders across the organization. And typically we are completely moving away from the typical big bang approach, right, which was getting reflected as part of your traditional ways of doing the software development. Typically what we are looking at is we doing the prioritization and staying focused on all the higher priority requirements to be made available as part of our solutions to our customers. And typically those are developed, delivered, and it is not only developed and delivered, it is all about they're getting integrated substantially, right? Wherein we can reduce on the surprises of the integration towards the end of the project, right? And subsequently this smaller development cycles really allows customers to look at the progress of the set of requirements what they have requested for. They could see a demonstration of those requirements getting converted into the solutions. Their feedback is considered to be the more uh, flexibility what it brings in, wherein that feedback can be accommodated as part of the subsequent iterations or sprints. And you know it really creates a confidence in those in the customer's mind that something has been worked upon. My my opinion is considered to be very valuable to the organization, and subsequently they become the part of the project, right? And it is all about the value co-creation what it reflects, right? It is again value co-creation is yet another concept which is completely coming from the ID service management perspective. But it is all about having the two-way communication between your customers and your organization and the different roles. It is not about your customers is providing the feedback. It is all about with that set of feedback, your teams are allowed to provide their recommendations to the customers, right? And that really brings in the benefit to the organizations as well as to the customers, wherein they can look at the higher returns on investment substantially over the period of time. Now, what is next, right? There are a lot of solutions, and we are not talking about today, or we are not talking about a year back. We are not talking about probably 5 years back. It is all about almost like 12, 13 years, wherein we are looking at how do we move beyond Scrum, right? And it is not about we forgetting about the recommendations. We forgetting about the fantastic, one of the world's fantastic framework recommendations as Scrum. We are taking the Scrum as a base, and probably we are looking at the bigger picture, right? There were substantially 2011 wherein the Scrum was introduced, safe was introduced to the world. The large scale scrum, that is layers, which was introduced, scrum at scale, that was introduced to the world. And these are the different variations, right? Wherein the project size, maybe the variations, it could be 4 levels, 2 variants, and one approach. Wherein if you look at it, the skilled agile framework, it talks about the 4 configuration, right? Uh, it could be your, you know, typically essential configuration or probably large solution, then portfolio configuration, and subsequently it brings in the entire view in terms of which reflects on your essential large solutions and portfolio side of it. Now, when we talk about the portfolio, it is all about the connecting strategy to the execution, right? And there are existence of different roles at each of the configuration level, which actually they are interconnected, right? And that is where you could see a direct connection between all those levels, but it could be at your scrum level, at the team level, then further at the program level, then the large solution levels, wherein all those solutions, right, from your organization, from the vendors organization, they are coming together, they are getting integrated, right? And typically that is getting reflected as part of achievement of one of the strategic objectives which your organization wants to stay focused on, right? And definitely each level, like I said, they are supported with a different set of roles and they complement each other, right? And they have a representation of uh, their counterparts at each of the configuration level, and they are acting as the real mechanism in terms of converting your strategy into the execution. But is that what is subsequently is needed? And it is going beyond that, right? It is going beyond that in terms of we are having the appropriate governance structure, we are having the opportunity for the people in terms of they setting up the agile PMOs. They are referring to something called as the lean agile center of excellence, wherein the people across the organization, they are getting a chance in terms of they're demonstrating the new set of achievements what they have reflected, the learnings what they do have, the kind of benefits what they are realizing. And it is not about the marketing, it is all about communicating to the rest of the organization in terms of their achievements substantially over the period of time, right? And idea here is to flourish the entire organization by doing the things in a different manner, and probably have a placeholder in terms of we taking the approach like design thinking. uh, at the center of the overall framework, it is all about the business agility, and we are what is really acting as a flourishing over here is like we are having the space for innovation, right? Wherein we are looking at continuous exploration and not staying only focused on continuous integration and continuous delivery, right? And that's the kind of the what your skilled agile framework it looks at, right? Now, like I said, it is all about the alignment, it is all about the collaboration, it is all about multiple teams they are working together, and typically they are completely based on the lean fundamentals, right? And typically when I talk about the lean fundamentals, the overall recommendations are the bare minimum principles, wherein we talk about eliminating the waste and reducing the risk, respecting the people, right? Now, if you look at it, one of the best recommendation is value stream construct, and it is a placeholder wherein the different teams who needs to be working on a project, probably which could be more than 100 people. They can be those teams can be divided into the subset of 10 team members, which is a bare minimum recommendation from Scrum. And subsequently they become a part of your value streams, and that is they are staying focused on achieving the certain set of value proposition to their customers. It is all about they working together, they collaborating, they are doing the planning for the entire 10 15 teams, right? And it is 2 days of planning, wherein the representation or probably a role which is a representation from your portfolio to your to your execution, right? To your team members, to your project level. He acts as a guiding mechanism in terms of setting up the expectation from the top level, portfolio level to the execution level. And he is a person who actually takes acts as an enablement factor in terms of setting up the connectivity between the different roles across the different configurations in scaled agile framework, right? It is all about us taking a structured approach. It is all about we dealing with the different configurations. It is all about this particular framework is supported with 7 different core competencies, right? Wherein your base competency is your leadership, and the 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 overall rooftop of your this particular framework is business agility. How do we achieve, with the help of leadership support, how do we achieve the business agility across the organization? Your scaled agile framework is a fantastic mechanism in terms of taking uh, converting your strategic objective into the into the execution side of it, wherein it is supported with 10 odd core principles, which again pretty closely aligned with your 12 principles of agile, right? It is taking into consideration the application of system thinking, and probably and definitely recommending doing the software development in typical iterative and incremental way of doing the software development. And that is how the overall safe journey which has started, introduced to the world as safe 1.0 by Mr. Den Liffingwell, uh, who has put a broader thought process in terms of what is beyond Scrum, right? And that is where 2011, wherein safe 1.0 was introduced to the world. And substantially, as different organizations, they are adopting this particular framework. The real agility is reflecting in terms of the kind of maturity which has been built substantially over the period of time in scaled agile framework. And we could see that those feedbacks are getting reflected, right, as part of the changes, those feedbacks getting converted into or getting fitted into the different set of releases or the versions of this particular framework. 2011, wherein it started with 1.0, 2023, wherein we could see the existence of safe 6.0, which is yet again completely supporting the lean product development, agile development. It reflects on adoption of not only DevOps but a security aspect of it as well. That is DevSecOps, and completely built on the system thinking, reflecting more placeholder for the innovation. Right. Different learning areas. What it offers typically there are 11 learning areas which it offers. One of the most significant one is implementing safe, the safe practice consultant. But before that, right, you really need to understand the bare minimal fundamentals of it. Leading safe, right? Anybody who is really inclined towards acting as a change agent, or probably needs to understand scaled agile framework in a very detailed manner. Leading safe is one of the learning capability what safe is offering. Safe Scrum Master, very typical, the role specific certifications like Scrum Master, Advanced Scrum Master, Product Owner, Product Manager, safe for architects, safe for teams, right? Safe for advanced, the Scrum Master in advanced manner, safe for DevOps, safe for Agile product and solution management, safe for Agile software engineering, safe for ART, that is released to an engineer, or RTE, right? So these are the different 11 capabilities what it reflects on. And uh, predominantly before we getting into implementing safe, definitely we should be knowing what scaled agile framework is all about, and probably leading safe, or we understanding the safe scrum master or safe advanced scrum master, right, are the good starting point in terms of understanding this particular framework, and continuing your journey depending on the role what you are performing, right? Now within your own organization, maybe you can choose the role specific certification offerings from scaled agile, right? With given said, I'm opening the floor for any Q&A. Harshal, you want to go ahead and take the session further, please? Harshad?
Yes, sir.
Harsh? Yep.
Yeah. So, guys, if you have
Okay.
any questions, please feel free to ask in the chat box. Yeah. Any questions so far? We can wrap up the webinar.
Harshad, you want to talk about this one? Maybe.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
If there are no questions.
Yes. Yeah, I think there is no question. So we will wrap it. Okay. All right. I hope you find this webinar both educational and enjoyable. I hope you guys feeling awesome. Yeah, I think Shuvo have a question. Yes, sir. Vishal sir, the one
Okay.
questions from Shivo.
See, if you look at scaled agile framework, if you learn it from scratch, right, it will always bring in the benefit in terms of you providing the right set of understanding of your values and principles of scaled agile framework. So that's the right way of uh, that's the right way in terms of we adapting the framework. But if you look at the first four principles of scaled agile framework, uh, even if you are following Scrum, right, they are still eligible for it. So maybe I would recommend that you should be going with the training with a learning program from it. You get a certified, right? You should get a certification for your knowledge base, what you're learning out of that. Substantially, that will bring in more value for that. Uh, when certificate is issued, I didn't understand your question. As and when you have to attend 2 days of training, to be very honest with you, and then you will have to undergo a certification exam, which you need to complete it as part of your before 30 days, right? You have to appear for the examination, and as and when you complete your when you successfully pass your certification exam, that is a placeholder wherein you get the certificate, right? uh, Mohammed, this is all about, the CSM. It is pretty much on the Scrum fundamentals aspect of it, but it is your scaled agile framework is referring to Scrum fundamentals, but it is at the essential configuration level. But your CSM does not give you any clarity in terms of how do we scale it further, right? And that is where you're learning something beyond Scrum, right? So that's the differentiation what I could see, right? Uh, Maybe if your interest is in Scrum Master role, then I would certainly recommend you to go ahead with Scaled Agile, Safe Scrum Master kind of certification, and then Safe Advanced Scrum Master certification. That would be ideal for you, Mohammed. Yep, you're most welcome, sir. Anything else? If no questions, then possibly do we need to put on a closing comment, Harshad sir?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So if you have any feedback regarding this webinar, so this is the link. You can just give our feedback, give your feedback to us. Yeah. Also, if you have any queries regarding this webinar or regarding this certification, you can connect with us. For sure, our team will get back to you and we will address your queries regarding this Scrum Master certification or regarding the any Scrum related queries. So thank you so much for joining this webinar. Okay, and I hope everyone enjoy this webinar. I know you have a holiday time, but for the most you give us valuable time to hear the webinar and all. So thank you so much for joining this and bye everyone. Merry
Thank you much,
Christmas.
everyone.
Happy
Yep.
New Year.
Happy holidays, people, and wish you a very happy new year.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you very
All
much.
right. Thank
Signing off.
you. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Bye. Bye everyone.